Hello, my name is Sami. I do work in GPT-Lab as a PhD researcher, and my work is to how to use generative AI in software engineering. And basically, we develop multi-agent softwares that helps and using with the help of LLMs to automate the processes that use in software. And my hobby is that how to fine tune that open source LLMs in software engineering. So this is my hope, and I'm very happy to work here, and I wish that to everyone will be work here, and let's join us here as a GPT Lab. Um, Actually, if we talk about the software engineering principles, so software when we develop a software, so there is a life cycle. So life cycle means that we have some processes that we have to follow it. So one of the main principle that is the requirement engineering. So in requirement engineering, we have many things like the requirement elicitation, requirements gathering, requirements prioritization. So the agenda is that how can we objectify, how can we basically filter those softwares and use that kind of softwares in requirement prioritization and use effectively to prioritize our requirements. So let's say there is one person comes and he said that he need to develop a software, and he gives us the requirements. So that requirements are very general, so we have to move that requirements into technical specification and then design, and then so LLM can help us that okay, you can prioritize your requirements. So that's the requirements are very important for getting. So now the second point is the prioritization. So we can let them inform to prioritize it, and here the as we are using the generative AI, so the prompt engineering is very much important. So the good the prompt and context we have, the greater results we can achieve. Actually, there are two things. One is that how we, as I mentioned, that how we use the prompt engineering. The other is that what are the requirements engineering methods that can use in the industry. So there are many like $100 Moscow, there is AHP, and there is WSJF. So these models are well defined, so only we need to use it. So the question is that how can LLMs or the generative AI can help. So the question is, we can let them allow LLMs, okay, please prioritize this to requirements, and the same thing we can do it by the human. So we can say that okay, we have a bunch of requirements that sometimes not it's impossible for human to prioritize whole things, but as we have a machine and we inform them that you have this, you have to follow this technique, and we inform them by a prompt engineering, and we can use it. Actually, the requirement engineering is the one of the toughest challenge or the biggest challenge. The reason is that if you don't have a good requirements, you don't have a good software design. If you don't have a good software design, it means that you don't develop a good, implement a good software. So if you don't develop a good don't develop that kind of software, so you can't test it and you can't validate it, what are the requirements. So the requirements are very important. So here we have a very clear agenda, what are the user requirements. Either we convert it successfully to the user stories, or we have a proper description and the acceptance criteria, and if we have a proper domain knowledge, then it would be good. Otherwise it will be as you know that it's one of the, when we require, we say the requirement elicitation, so it's one of the toughest challenge. We don't know, maybe there is some gap between the English. If I ask something from you and maybe you can understand something different, I can understand something different. So this is domain knowledge is very much important. And the other thing is that the pitfall about other thing is that because of the hallucinations of the generative AI, so sometimes it may also mislead of the other information that we don't require it. So we need special kind of tools or methods or techniques to mitigate that kind of issues. Language could be, but also the domain knowledge is very much important. Okay. If you have a good domain knowledge, you can. And of course, there are some other issues like I mentioned, the hallucination and things, but they can be improved by using the RAG, by using Raptor, or by using some other technologies that would be help us to reduce them. Actually, I can answer into two ways. If we have a good resource or financial, we can use the clouds like Azure, DevOps, we have Amazon, we have many other cloud platforms that we can use it. But we also have an option that if we have a good servers or good GPU machines in our, so we can host in our local servers as well. Varies from domain to domain, and like if we were working in very close or project that is very much related to security or privacy or something, then I prefer that we use the in-house or the local server machines. But if there is a way that we have a budget and we have a good resource and we can have a good data and much of the potential, then we can go towards the cloud. Here is a very interesting story. When we have to, I mean, every researcher, when it comes towards the research, his or her have a first job is to conduct a systematic literature review. I mean that to get the knowledge of the 360 of the subject or domain. So it's a tedious or a lengthy process, or you can say that we have to follow it. Let's say you have to craft what are the topic, or what are the search string, or what are your objective, what are your research questions, how many what are your will be your strategy to find their papers and answers and give the future directions and find those papers and answers. That's a long process. So as we are using the generative AI or LLMs, so our goal is not to just do a manual work, as well as to automate that process. So it will help many researchers to conduct their systematic literature review in any topic, and just they have to mention it in their the objective, and to play with the tool, and then can easily doable. Yeah, that is very interesting thing. When we were working, so we have seen that we initially we use chat GPT or OpenAI APIs. So we have seen that some of the information that, especially about the research papers, they are not properly cited. So we start using it that, so it means that just not only the one agent or the open source large language models not help, so we have to use some other external softwares or the APIs. So we have seen that, so there is a multiple ways of the AI agents can be used. Like in our case, we the only important thing that is the prompt engineering. So we generate different prompts, and we ask them that, okay, here is our objective, and we have to generate the research questions. Here we have a research questions and objective, we have to generate the search string. So this kind, and with the help of other tools, we can to use it. Prompt is what you give the information to the chatbots. Like if everybody knows the chat GPT, everyone use it. If you talk about, mostly of the time we use it. So if you say chat GPT, just provide me the name of countries where there is summer, so it will generate the information. But if you say summer information, just it, so there is a one line, so there is no context. So when we talk about the prompt engineering, there is a concept that there is a special keywords like context, prompt. I mean that if you pass it from to in a structured way, you can get a better results. So if you can try, you can see that there is a much of the difference of the result. As I mentioned that when we try to use the LLM agents, I've seen that especially the ChatGPT and others, they do not provide me the correct citations and the references of the paper. So this is the issue that at the moment I fix it by using the other databases sources of the journals, like I use Elsewhere API, I use Archive. I'm using it so that I'm getting the papers from there, rather than I'm saying LLM agents to find the relevant papers for the topic or the query or search string that I'm been giving to the prompt. I'm saying that no need, because I have seen that because of the wrong information, and in the research papers we cannot afford to have this, so I use it. But I think that there is another way, and that's my actual research and point is that is the fine-tuning of those models. So I am thinking that if we can provide the correct data sets or train them accordingly, so we can use. The second issue is that in the initial I have seen that there is OpenAI is not free, so you have to pay the cost. So the other option is we left is that the open source model. So the open source models have not have a good results as compared to the OpenAI. So only thing is that we can fine tune them and we can give better training, and then we get the better results. That's my goal is also especially in the software engineering principles. Uh, there are we need to divide into two things. One is that what tools generally we use it, and that is we develop nowadays a LangChain framework is very much popular. The RAG technology is being used in very where the clouds are there, and in the tool or editor we can use the Visual Studio Code. That is good. If we compare with the language, so Python is the top of them, but the JavaScript is also, and the good thing about the LangChain is it provides in both. So it's about them. And now the literature review, as we there is systematic literature review have a special kind of methods and techniques that we can adopt it and can use it. Actually, there is nowadays, I have seen that the gray literature is also very much common. So, for the audience, I can explain the gray literature is that you have seen that nowadays people read more blogs and articles from the websites, and if you talk about me, I daily read one article from the Medium, rather than sometimes I do not take much of the time for the research paper. I can get much of the context from the Medium. So this kind of articles generation we can induct in the systematic literature review, and we can provide that all not only the systematic literature but also a great literature can be generated, or a new blog or article can be generated with the help of that tool.